conceal the secrets of the Jewish Tannaim? Never has the Christian world been in possession of those hidden scrolls which contain the secret doctrine of Israel, and if the Kabbalists were correct in their assumption that the lost books of the Mosaic mysteries had been woven into the fabric of the Torah, then the scriptures are veritably books within books. In rabbinical circles the opinion is prevalent that Christendom never has understood the Old Testament and probably never will. In fact, the feeling exists, in some quarters, at least, that the Old Testament is the exclusive possession of the Jewish faith. Also that Christianity, after its unrelenting persecution of the Jew, takes unwarranted liberties when it includes strictly Jewish writings in its sacred canon. But, as noted by one rabbi, if Christianity must use the Jewish scriptures, it should at least strive to do so with some degree of intelligence. In the opening chapter of Genesis it is stated that after creating light and separating it from darkness, the seven Elohim divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. Having thus established the inferior universe in perfect accord with the esoteric teachings of the Hindu, Egyptian, and Greek mysteries, the Elohim next turned their attention to the production of flora and fauna and lastly man. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." So God created man in his own image, in the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth. Consider in thoughtful silence the startling use of pronouns in the above extract from the most perfect example of English literature. When the plural and androgynous Hebrew word Elohim was translated into the singular and sexless word God, the opening chapters of Genesis were rendered comparatively meaningless. It may have been feared that had the word been correctly translated as the male and female creative agencies, the Christians would have been justly accused of worshipping a plurality of gods in the face of their repeated claims to monotheism. The plural form of the pronouns us and our reveals unmistakably, however, the pantheistic nature of divinity. Further, the androgynous constitution of the Elohim God is disclosed in the next verse, where he referring to God is said to have created man in his own image, male and female. Or, more properly, as the division of the sexes had not yet taken place, male-female. This is a death blow to the time-honored concept that God is a masculine potency as portrayed by Michelangelo on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. The Elohim then order these androgynous beings to be fruitful. Note that neither the masculine nor the feminine principle as yet existed in a separate state. And, lastly, note the word replenish. The prefix re denotes back to an original or former state or position, or repetition or restoration. See Webster's International Dictionary, 1926. This definite reference to a humanity existing prior to the creation of man described in Genesis must be evident to the most casual reader of Scripture. An examination of Bible dictionaries, encyclopedias, and commentaries discloses the plural form of the word Elohim to be beyond the comprehension of their respected authors and editors. The New Schaffherzog Encyclopedia of Religious Knowledge thus sums up the controversy over the plural form of the word Elohim. Does it now or did it originally signify plurality of divine being? A Dictionary of the Bible, edited by James Hastings, contains the following conclusion, which echoes the sentiments of more critical etymologists of the Bible. The use of the plural Elohim is also difficult to explain. Dr. Havernick considers the plural form Elohim to signify the abundance and super-richness existing in the divine being. His statement, which appears in the Popular and Critical Bible Encyclopedia, is representative of the efforts made to circumvent this extremely damaging word. The International Standard Bible Dictionary considers the explanations offered by modern theologians, of which Dr. Havernick's is a fair example, to be too ingenious to have been conceived by the early Hebrews, and maintains that the word represents the survival of a polytheistic stage of Semitic thought. The Jewish Encyclopedia supports the latter assumption with the following concise statement: as far as epigraphic material, traditions, and folklore throw light on the question, the Semites are shown to be of polytheistic leanings. Various schools of philosophy, both Jewish and Gentile, have offered explanations erudite and otherwise of the identity of Adam. In this primordial man the Neoplatonists recognized the Platonic idea of humanity, the archetype or pattern of the genus Homo. Theologians considered Adam to represent the human mind, which could understand and hence give names to the creatures about it, but could not comprehend and hence left nameless the mystery of its own nature. Adam was also likened to the Pythagorean monad, which by virtue of its state of perfect unity could dwell in the Edenic sphere. When through a process akin to fission the monad became the duad, the proper symbol of discord and delusion, the creature thus formed was exiled from its celestial home. Thus the twofold man was driven from the paradise belonging to the undivided creation, and cherubim and a flaming sword were placed on guard at the gates of the causal world. Consequently, only after the re-establishment of unity within himself can man regain his primal spiritual state. According to the awsome, the secret doctrine of Israel taught the existence of 4 Adams, each dwelling in one of the 4 Kabbalistic worlds. The first, or heavenly, Adam dwelt alone in the absolute sphere, and within his nature existed all spiritual and material potentialities. The second Adam resided in the sphere of Bria. Like the first Adam, this being was androgynous, and the 10th division of its body, its heel, Malchith, corresponded to the Church of Israel that shall bruise the serpent's head. The third Adam, likewise androgynous, was clothed in a body of light and abode in the sphere of Yetzirah. The fourth Adam was merely the third Adam after the fall into the sphere of Messiah, at which time the spiritual man took upon himself the animal shell or coat of skins. The fourth Adam was still considered as a single individual, though division had taken place within his nature, and 2 shells or physical bodies existed, in one of which was incarnated the masculine and in the other the feminine potency. For further details consult Isaac Meyer. The universal nature of Adam is revealed in the various accounts concerning the substances of which he was formed. It was originally ordained that the dirt to be used in fashioning him was to be derived from the 7 worlds. As these planes, however, refused to give of their substances, the Creator wrenched from them by force the elements to be employed in the Adamic constitution. St. Augustine discovered a notaricon in the name of Adam. He showed that the 4 letters, Adam, are the first letters of the 4 words Anatole Disas Artis Mesembria, the Greek names for the 4 corners of the world. The same author also sees in Adam a prototype of Christ, for he writes, Adam sleeps that Eve may be formed, Christ dies, that the Church may be formed. While Adam sleeps, Eve is formed from his side. When Christ is dead, his side is smitten with a spear, that there flow forth sacraments to form the Church. Adam himself was the figure of him that was to come. In his recent work, Judaism, George Footmore thus describes the proportions of the Adamic man: he was a huge mass that filled the whole world to all the points of the compass. The dust of which his body was formed was gathered from every part of the world, or from the site of the future altar. Of greater interest is the notion that man was created androgynous, because it is probably a bit of foreign lore adapted to the first pair in Genesis. Or Samuel Barnum, 3rd century, said, when God created Adam, he created him facing both ways. Then he sawed him in 2 and made 2 backs, 1 for each figure. The Zohar holds the concept of 2 Adams: the first a divine being who, stepping forth from the highest original darkness, created the second, or earthly, Adam in his own image. The higher, or celestial, man was the causal sphere with its divine potencies and potentialities considered as a gigantic personality. Its members, according to the Gnostics, being the basic elements of existence. This Adam may have been symbolized as facing both ways to signify that with one face it looked upon the proximate cause of itself, and with the other face looked upon the vast sea of cosmos into which it was to be immersed. Philosophically, Adam may be regarded as representative of the full spiritual nature of man, androgynous and nor subject to decay. Of this fuller nature the mortal man has little comprehension. Just as spirit contains matter within itself and is both the source and ultimate of the state denominated matter, so Eve represents the lower, or mortal, portion that is taken out of, or has temporal existence in the greater and fuller spiritual creation. Being representative of the inferior part of the individual, Eve is the temptress who, conspiring with the serpent of mortal knowledge, caused Adam to sink into a trance-like condition in which he was unconscious of his own higher self. When Adam seemingly awoke, he actually sank into sleep, for he no longer was in the spirit but in the body. Division having taken place within him, The true Adam rested in paradise while his lesser part incarnated in a material organism